Hi again, everyone. My name is Cecile. I use the she, her pronoun, and I'm a project communicator here at SIWI. Welcome to this webinar on how to write a good session proposal for World Water Week 2022. I'm joined today by Annie and Ingrid, who are program manager here at SIWI in the World Water Week team. So they are the ones who will be reviewing and with other people, of course, reviewing and assessing the proposals, and they're responsible for making the strong program of World Water Week. And we also have with us David, who is also a colleague at SIWI in the Water Resources Department. And David is joining us as a past convener, both from within SIWI and outside SIWI. And he had successful and unsuccessful applications. So that's why we thought he could give you a good insight from the convener perspective. So for the sake of time, we are recording this webinar so we can share with other participants later. We won't take any live questions, but if you do have comments or questions, please type them in the chat. We will try to take them at the end if we have time, or we will answer them in writing, and we'll share the questions afterwards with the recording to everyone, so we are all on the same page. So let's dive into the topic of this webinar. So first of all, we're going to start with a general overview, and I'm going to ask my colleague Annie to give you an overview of what World Water Week is.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Annie, as Cecile said, and most of you probably already know us at the World Water Week, but in case you don't, we just wanted to give you a little bit of a background. And the World Water Week is the leading annual conference on global water issues, and it's organized by Stockholm International Water Institute, or SIWI, since 1991, so over 30 years we have done this. And we do this together with all of you, the organizations from all different sectors and from all regions all over the world. And we find solutions together to some of the world's greatest water-related challenges.
Thank you so much for this overview. And what is new specifically for World Water Week 2022?
So World Water Week 2022 will take place between the 23rd of August until the 1st of September this year. And it will actually be both online and in Stockholm. So we're really excited to be able to be back here in Stockholm. And this new edition, it will offer both opportunities to connect face-to-face and also to have online components to be able to engage worldwide. And this year, we're also making the theme, seeing the unseen, the value of water, much clearer, by having some different topics on different days. We have the value of water for people and development, the financial and economic value of water, and the value of water for nature and climate change. We believe and we feel like this will make it easier to see the red thread in the program and to tell a cohesive story.
Thank you so much, Annie. This is really interesting to have the bigger picture. And now I'm turning to you, Ingrid. If you could give us a little bit of explanation on the different types of sessions, especially as I see in the chat, there's questions that are coming back quite often. So over to you, Ingrid.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us today. I know time is precious. And I want to start off by saying that we welcome all proposals from all types of organizations and sectors, even if they have to relate to the overall theme of the program or the week. We want diverse and inclusive sessions that covers all aspects of water or water-related topics. So I think we have in the chat an overview figure of World Water Week 2022, which shows we will both have online and on-site components this year. And it's split into 2 weeks. So the first week is 23rd to 25th of August, and that's all online. The online sessions are 80 minutes, and they will follow the 3 main topics that Annie just mentioned on finance, people and development, and nature and climate change. We will also have something called online tracks, and they are longer sessions of 170 minutes, so they cover a half day, and they will be more focused on trainings, workshops, education. So there is also the second week, which is 28th of August to 1st of September, and that will have both on-site and online parts. The sessions will be 90 minutes, and conveners can then choose to cater to an on-site audience or host their sessions online. So depending on what audience you have in mind, this might impact what decision you want to go for and who you want to reach. The deadline for all of these sessions is 6th of March. So it's time to start preparing, and all the information about these sessions or session types and the costs and the logistics around them can be found on our website under the Engage section. I also want to mention that we will open up submissions for talk shows on 8th of March, and talk shows are 25-minute Q&A interview style sessions with a journalist. So that's a little bit of a different type of session.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. So now that we have a little bit of background about World Water Week and the different types of sessions, you will also find all this information on our website. We'll share the link a bit later. Let's go into this very topic of this webinar about how to write a good session proposal. Because every year we receive about twice as many sessions as we have slots in the program. So that makes a really tough competition for you and also for us to decide which sessions will be the most impactful, will be exciting and stimulating for the people who are attending World Water Week. And it's really our job to really understand what your session is about, so we can make sure to create, as Ingrid mentioned, a very diverse and cohesive program at World Water Week. So Ingrid, if you want to continue and let us know, and let our participant know what do they need to consider when they are preparing their session. What are you looking for in the selection process?
Yeah, so I would like to start off by saying that it usually shows when someone's put some real thought into what they want to accomplish with their sessions, and it also pays off down the line when you actually host your session at World Water Week. There are two main things you need to consider, and it's your objective and your audience. You need to know what objective you have with your session, and you have to ask yourself questions or find answers to questions like, why am I hosting a session at World Water Week? What do I want to achieve? What output and impacts do I anticipate? What do I and my organization want to get out of the session? It could be, for example, do you want to find new investors or new partners? Do you want your project to gain more traction? Do you want to influence decision makers? Do you want to reach new generation or share new knowledge, things like that. Also consider your audience. What do you want your audience to know after they've been to your session? What do you want them to have learned? Things like that is important to start off when you're planning your session. It also helps for our point of view if you're clear with your title and your description, so that we know what you're planning on doing and what audience you're hoping to attract, and we can do the program a little bit more focused. I also want to mention that we get a lot of proposals, as Cecile said already, I think, and there's the official guidelines, selection criteria that we follow, but then there's also a lot of other things we need to consider, the bigger picture when we set the program for World Water Week. So when we're reviewing, it's not just me and Annie, we have a whole team of people who are part of the selection and the reviewing of all our proposals. We also have to consider things like how many proposals have we received, what capacity do we have, how many sessions can we have, and also what topics are popular, what topics are less popular, are they similar, can we possibly merge some session proposals, what angles and stakeholders do they bring, so we get a diverse and inclusive program as possible. So I want to hand over to Annie to talk a little bit about what to think about when it comes to considering your audience.
Thank you, Ingrid. Yes, As Ingrid mentioned, and Cecile, we get a lot of proposals, and we're really, really happy about that. So thank you for submitting it, submitting your great proposals. But as Ingrid said, you need to think about what it is that you want out of your session. And one important aspect then is to know your audience. Who should be in the room for you to reach your objective, your aim? Because World Water Week participants is a very diverse group of people, and you can't really cater for everyone. Not all World Water Week participants will come to your session and be potential participants to your session. So you need to identify what is the subgroup that should come to your session. And again, we have a few questions that might help you narrow down who is your potential audience. Yeah, as I said, who needs to be in the room in order for you to reach your objective? Where do they work? What type of organization? What maybe a specific part of the world? Who can they influence? What power do they have to influence? And going back to the questions about the aim of your session, maybe if you're looking for new investors for a project or new partners, make sure that they are in the room by catering the sessions towards them and what they want to hear. And do you want to spread the word of the work that you're doing? Who is it that you want to spread it to? And just have a think about these things already now when you're writing your proposals. And then another question to consider is how much do your audience need to know before stepping into that room, into your session, to be able to absorb all of your messages? What previous knowledge do they need to have? And here I really want to stress, because you will be asked this question when you submit, and the level, what kind of level previous knowledge it's needed. And I just want to say that it's not graded, and the expert level session is not a better session than if you're saying that there's no previous knowledge needed. This is both a way for you to be sure to get the right people in the room, but also for our audience to know what to expect out of your session. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Annie. And now I'm turning to you, David. Now that we learned this, like we heard those general recommendations, how does that apply to you as a previous applicant? How did you apply that, especially around the audience, into your proposal?
Well, it's quite obvious that your objectives and your audience are linked. I've prepared proposals where, in principle, it's more about promoting the activity, more of a general visibility and awareness, and you sort of have your objectives can be quite broad to sort of meet that. But there is the danger that you don't have enough detail, or you could be too generic with that. I've also had sort of proposals where we're actually trying to reach two audiences. We've got an audience which is predominantly perhaps a wider selection of different participants, different parts of the water sector, decision makers, and so on. But we've also, in my particular case, we wanted to reach out very strongly to Indigenous peoples around the globe. And so we actually came up with a proposal that included two events, and we connected them, in which one of them sort of recognized that it didn't necessarily have a knowledge of, say, Indigenous values and water governance, but it provided a foundation to the second event, which was more for how Indigenous values are coming into governance. So we sort of thought about how we were going to reach both of those types of audiences in that. And we made sure that we provided enough detail in there that it felt like they were two separate but connected events. And I'm pretty sure that the organizer could see what we were trying to do in that. And I think that was a very important part of what we did. So yeah, audience is important, but it's very much connected to your objectives.
Thank you so much. So Annie or Ingrid, do you have any other aspect outside of the impact, objective, and the audience? Like what else our conveners need to think about?
Yes, I can start a little bit. So I would say that have a think about how your session is part of the solution. Think about what are you bringing that's new. Perhaps it can be a new angle to an old topic, or maybe a new way of thinking, new findings, new approaches, and maybe focus on the current debates and generation of new ideas and new solutions. We're happy to see it include learning from failure. So a few questions here to ask, you can ask yourself is, how does your session drive the conversation forward? How does it contribute to change? Is your session paving the way for meaningful dialogue and perhaps future collaborations? And what different angles and aspects are you bringing to the discussion? What's new about them? And how is your session addressing the issue in a new and maybe more mature way? Perhaps in a more complex way, maybe it brings in more perspectives, looking at it at a more intersections.
Thank you so much. So back to you, David. How does those general advice apply to specifically to convenor?
So I'll be honest, I used to find that key messages were quite difficult to define, but in part it was because I was putting forward more generic proposals. I wasn't really putting forth a good argument for why I should be included in the World Water Week. And I think that would filter through the rest of the application. And so those ones weren't accepted because they were too generic. Maybe I was being too generic because I was trying to meet the needs of too many other co-conveners. It might be that I was feeling that we were going to have some research ready, but I was trying to hedge my bets about what was at the end. But I found that actually these key messages helps you to structure the rest of what you're wanting to do, because if you're trying to bring some new information, it actually helps to put forward that argument, and therefore it comes through the rest of the paper. So I've gone to be becoming a believer in them. They were the last thing I used to do. Now I think they're the first, actually ahead of objectives. So there you go.
So you learned by doing it, by being rejected, I guess.
Pretty much.
Thank you. So if we shift a little bit the topic, like you all talked a little bit about having different perspectives in the week. And indeed, at SIWI, we are very committed to make our work as accessible and inclusive as possible. And of course, World Water Week is the place where we want to welcome as many people as possible across culture, abilities, social scales, and regions, of course. So Ingrid, could you tell us a little bit more about what our conveners should consider when they're writing that session, what to include in, and to make sure they include everyone?
So we always encourage stakeholder diversity for your sessions. It creates a debate, more engaging discussions, and makes sure everyone's point of view is heard. And it's important then to think when you're starting to plan your session, what speakers and conveners you're going to involve, that you think about representations and ask the questions of what different angles can I use to approach my subjects? Who would be the best person or organization to represent those angles on the specific topics? Is everyone who has important perspectives in this topic represented in the session? If someone's voice is missing, why? And can I do something about this? We want to encourage like gender balance, youth representation. That's why we have our gold standard for sessions, which means you have to have at least 1% under 35 and 40% women amongst your speakers. So we feel very strongly about everyone having a voice at the week. And I think maybe David is going to speak a little bit more about his experience around this.
So I work a lot with Indigenous peoples around the globe, and it's important to ensure that there's no speaking about us without us. So in our applications for these activities last year, we wanted to make sure that the primary speakers, in fact, almost all of the main speakers were of Indigenous peoples' descent, because it felt the more appropriate thing given the topic we were talking about and why. Now, I would say that we didn't tick the gold standard box on the application form. we had a long discussion amongst ourselves about bringing the gold standard into the different Indigenous worldviews. And whilst we felt we would probably meet it, we decided not to. But the World Water Week team did come back to us, and we had a sort of good conversations about it. But it's important to make sure that that representativeness and that inclusiveness is there, and it can be seen in that application. Because if it's not, they might come back to you, or they might not. So yeah, that's my sort of view. So like I said, I work a lot with Indigenous peoples, and it's important to ensure that they have a voice and that they're there with their voice. And I think that holds for all sorts of communities.
I think that's a very important point you made. Oh, Ingrid, you wanted to add something?
I just wanted to fill in about the gold standard. It's just a quantitative measurements to make sure that everyone is included. I mean, our utopia or our goal is that this will be the norm. It should be something in the back of everyone's head when doing any kind of project planning, not just the World Water Week or sessions. So it's just that we want to encourage people to have this thinking always and implement that in everything they do. So hopefully soon we won't need it, because it will just be the baseline, so to speak. And it's also not just Indigenous peoples, covers all topics. So.
And as a long-term participant at the World Waters Week, I can see the difference it's making over time. And I appreciate also as a participant how much these new voices are bringing to the conversation. So I think it's really important.
Thank you so much for this addition. Yeah, I think the motto, not talking about us without us, I think that applies to a lot of sectors. So yeah, thanks so much for this insight. I was wondering, Ingrid, if you had any additional comments for our participants today.
I think that we have covered most of the things, and we can take some questions maybe if we have time for that. It's more about thinking to, when you write, have a very clear description, captivating headline, especially when it comes to at the World Water Week, if you want people to feel enticed to go to your session. And I just want to make a point that the starting point should always be that you do something or a session that you would like to attend. So first and foremost, ask yourself, would I attend this session? That's how you should be working around it. It should be fun for you as well.
Absolutely. And as a communication specialist, I can also give you like some advice on like your title doesn't have to be, for example, like saying everything. It's more like a teaser to really give an overview of what subject you're going to cover, and then in the description you can go into more details about how you cover the subject and who you'll be included and the type of questions you'll be asking. There's also, we keep saying that, but it's very important to minimize the jargon terms, even if your session is for experts, because you must think also of people who don't have English as a first language, people who have reading disabilities, this sort of thing. So try to make your concept, explain your concept in the fewest words possible, but like with normal words, I would say. I think that's very important to keep that in mind as well on being accessible and yeah.
I
David,
have
you wanted to
another
say
little
something.
tip.
Please go
I
for it.
do. One of the other good things about ensuring you have enough detail and a hook for why you're doing your event is that you possibly have less chances of being asked to merge. I've also been asked to merge events, and that can be quite hard when you've already come together with a group of conveners and you put together your proposal, etc. But if we were too generic and that other proposal looks the same as another proposal, then it's very hard to differentiate. So from a pragmatic point of view, I think it's good to try and include as much detail to sort of show the team why your event is different to another that might be similar, else you might be asked to merge, and that does take more work. So that's my tip as a person who's been there, done that.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
It can be nice, but it's hard.
Absolutely. So I see we have a few questions in the chat. I saw some of you raise their hand, but I would rather if you can to type in the chat, so we can combine the questions. There are a few questions about online versus on-site sessions, and if we can have online speakers with an online on-site session. So if you wanna, one of you, Annie or Ingrid, if you wanna talk about the hybrid component, maybe.
Do you want me to take it? If, for example, we're going to have online, everything is online. So then you can have remote speakers, or you can be in the same room. It doesn't really impact that. On site, we will have sessions which are just on site for the audience there, but we'll also have sessions that are online where you can both interact with the audience and you can have remote speakers. Then for just audience on site, we are still exploring what technology we will have for those sessions and how we will do around those. So I'll have to get back to you if you can. It shouldn't be a problem, but I don't want to make promise we can't fulfill to have remote speakers. But you can at least definitely then have pre-recorded presentations or messages. I hope that answers those questions.
Thank you. Yeah. We have another question about timing of the sessions. How strict are we in the timeframes we set? Like online sessions are 80 minutes. The tracks are 170 minutes. Like, how strict is it?
Yeah, I can take that as well. No, you have to keep the times. You can go shorter, but you can't go over, because then you're stealing someone else's time, and that's not fair. So we have to respect everyone's time and do a program that fits within the time frame that you have allocated for your session.
Yes, I can just add that, I mean, our online venue is kind of like an on-site venue. It has rooms. So as Ingrid is saying, if you're staying late in your room, then that means that the next session can't start. So it's not possible, unfortunately.
There is a question about opportunity for young people to support World Water Week, except the Young Scientific Program Committee. Is there any specific youth engagement at World Water Week?
We are still looking into the different opportunities that we will be able to offer this year. It is kind of like we're getting back into things as they were from back when we were on site, but we will put out a call both for assistance to help out on site, and we will also open a youth directory, so where we will actually collect if you are potential speakers, if you're available to speak in sessions, we will collect your names and share them with our conveners. So if you're not able to host your own session but still want to participate and speak, that's the way where you can register and hopefully get picked to speak in one of the sessions at World Water Week. There's not that much information on the web yet, but there will be soon. So keep an eye out on the web, I would say, both for the assistants when we launch that, and then also for the directories.
Thank you so much, Annie. There's another question about who will review the proposals. Yeah, is there the scientific people, technical people in the review panel?
So we have a committee. It's myself and Annie. We also have help from our scientific program committee, and their names are on the website under the scientific program committee segment or section. And then we also usually get expert input from other of our SIWI colleagues, and ultimately it goes to management top and has to be reviewed also by our directors.
Thank you so much. I'll share the link to the scientific program committee in a bit. There's just another questions about the platform as well. Do we know which platforms we'll use? Or is it something we can even share now?
Maybe Annie knows more about this. Do you know more than I do?
No, I don't think so. Sorry. I'm not sure if we have officially launched that yet. So I don't know.
We don't want to promise if we don't have anything for certain, but it will be announced very soon.
Yes,
We'll
it will be announced very soon on the website again. So
yeah, so that's also like we are kickstarting the organization, of course, and like we've been working on that for over a year, of course, but we'll announce the different platforms and venues and registration in due time.
Exactly, it's all coming. So yes, a lot of things are happening. So our website is the place to go and to find all of the latest information. And as soon as it's all official, we will let you know.
So we will take we don't have time to answer all the questions in the chat. Please do type them in, as we will collect them and we will answer them in writing, and we'll share that with you along the recording, the transcript, and additional resources to set up your proposal. We hope this session has answered some questions and that was helpful for you. We're just going to share a little poll to see with you how this was helpful, and if you have any idea already of if that helped you basically to shape your proposal. So I'm just going to launch the poll for a few minutes, and while you answer that, I'm just opening the floor to the three of you, Ingrid, David, or Annie, if you have more insight to share with our potential conveners here.
No, I just want to say that this was very basic and very logistic around submitting proposals and that sort of thing. But we're also planning on having something later on around actually arranging a session, how you will do that in an engaging way and what to think about. So more practical and more tools. This was just a very basic background into the submissions and what goes on.
So it's been said a few times, the World Water Week, these sessions, it's good to remember, what do you want to see and why do you go to sessions yourself? It's been said by Ingrid. I think it sort of should come across quite strongly, that to make sure that you're making something that you would like to go to, because there are dangers if you are simply trying to get an application in there because you're meeting the needs of a particular constituency, but you might be sort of having a bit of too generic a thing, and that's not attractive for everybody. So it's good to be able to make it an attractive thing that you want to go to, and think about that when you're doing your key messages and who's your audience and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have an article on the website. Sorry, and I'll just pass the mic to you just after. So we have an article on the website that gives you 9 easy tips to build up a good proposal and later down the line a better session. So I'm just going to paste the link here. Feel free to check it out. And as Ingrid and Annie referred to a couple of times, feel free to explore the website as well, because there are a lot of resources and answers to your questions. And Annie, I'll just pass it back to you.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I just wanted to kind of end with saying that I want you to kind of leave with the fact that creating the World Water Week program, it's very much dependent on you and kind of what you submit. So we really see it as a collaboration, and we have a common goal. I feel that we want to create a balanced, exciting, and inspiring schedule that, with as you all have said, that with sessions that we want to attend. And we just want you as a conveners to be happy. We want the audience to be happy and to be satisfied with the week. So please remember that we're doing this together. So I just kind of wanted to end on that note.
Thank you for this important note, indeed. Yeah, I'm just going to end the poll now, or just leave like 1 more second for you to answer. But I really wanted to thank you all for your time. Annie, Ingrid, and David, but also all of you who participated in this webinar. So as I said earlier, we've collected your questions in the chat and we'll answer that in writing. We'll also share the recording, the transcript, and a few additional resources via email. And of course, follow us on social media, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. There is dedicated, and Instagram, dedicated World Water Week channels for updates, and follow as well the updates on the website as we'll be building up the program together. So thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are in the world.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
See you later.